It is said in legend that to replenish the Mike force, Mike must undergo the Mike sleep, followed by a bow of Micos. But when the time is right, he shall awaken! To review Street Sharks!
Okay, fine.
Street Sharks. They find the Street Sharks. Street Sharks. They're gonna kill some serious men to win.
You guys remember tattooed teenage alien fighters from Beverly Hills? Yeah, I talked about that and how it was just a blatant Power Rangers ripoff trying to ride on the success of the other show. But it was not even close to the only thing back in that day that was trying to rip off something. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, for instance, was all the rage in the late 80s and early 90s, with the highly successful cartoon series as well as a really good movie and a decent sequel. We do not speak of the dark times. There were quite a few TMNT ripoffs back in the day, and some of them we'll doubtless get to later. Mighty Ducks and Mummies Alive, for example, were certainly cheesy enough in their own right, but the crowning achievement in facepalm was Street Sharks. And oh man, was this show a piece of work. Even at 5 years old, I could tell that this was the Little Caesars $5 hot and ready to Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Chicago-style deep dish. Street Sharks was produced by Dick Entertainment. Yeah, that sounds about right. It aired from 1994 to 1995 for a total of 40 episodes and 3 seasons? No, stop, time out, foul, flag on the play. 40 episodes and 3 seasons for Street Sharks? Street Sharks? I can't... Just start the episode. We start our series with a mysterious intruder breaking into some kind of compound. You can tell he means business because of his khakis, Mr. Rogers sweater, and Professor Beard. Turns out that the compound is a laboratory run by some unholy love child of Ben Kingsley and Bruce Campbell, if we're measuring by chin size. He, of course, has a diabolical plan.
Mere child's play for the man who taught the world what DNA could do in the right hands. Mine. A key strand from a swordfish, one from the lobster, combined with man's own, and it begins.
Yes, and once you've added your swordfish, go ahead and add a pinch of our garlic powder, just to bring the flavor out. But he's not gonna just add any human DNA to his masterpiece. He'll be adding the DNA of Genghis Khan and the totally not made-up pirate Captain Blood. And you know he can do it because he has green science juice, and green science juice can do anything. The intruder, named Dr. Bolton, makes his way into the compound to stop the procedure. Why he didn't bring the police or something, I don't really know. Anyway, it turns out the hardened criminal is too much for the awesome power of a biologist, and Bolton is subjected to green science juice. Because turning your sworn enemy into a powerful monster of unlimited potential is always the best idea. Now, we also made 2 goons named Bebop and Rocksteady. I mean, they're named Bebop and Rocksteady. I mean, we get a sweeping shot of our location, Fission City.
Optimistic. Ozone's a crackling. The UV's off the scale at 10++, and the carbon monoxide, you don't want to know.
Oh, sorry, I must have changed the channel to Captain Planet. God, I wish I could do that. Our villain, named Dr. Paradigm, bursts into the school biolab, where we hear some of the worst voice acting ever.
Dr. Bolton never showed up for his morning lecture.
Really?
But he's never late. Never. I think we should call his sons.
Paradigm orders her to tell Dr. Bolton's sons to meet him at an old nuclear power plant, which doesn't sound suspicious at all.
Man, I wouldn't trust that guy. That dude's weird.
Sho, do you see this guy? Do you see this guy? This guy and his stupid hair, purple sunglasses, weird red bandana thing, and yellow Walkman? He is your voice of reason. human version of Bobby from a Goofy movie is the only one smart enough to realize that Lex Luthor here might be evil. I just want us all to appreciate that for a moment. Anyway, we get the first look at our heroes, John, Coop, Clint, and guy whose name they don't actually say. Rollerblades McGreenpants McParachute? He has a parachute. We're treated to the most 90s chase scene ever created, including a motorcycle, a skateboard, rollerblades, and a jetpack. Only 90s kids remember the jetpack fad. We all had one. Anyway, they're kidnapped by Bebop and Rocksteady, I don't care what their real names are, and subjected to more green science juice! Because if giving your arch-nemesis superpowers is a good idea, then giving his vengeful son superpowers must be a great idea.
Surprise! Just my luck. Stand-up crustacean.
You know, now's as good a time as any to talk about the humor here, and I'd like to say it's terrible, I really would, but I don't even grasp it. Like, surprise, oh, a stand-up crustacean. I don't know, I mean, I want to say it's awful, but what if? What if it just goes beyond any kind of humor that we can see? What if it's transcended above all kinds of comedy that we mortal humans can understand, and what if, dare I ask, this is a calling for us to push beyond the limitations of our earthly humor so that one day, one glorious day, we might be able to grasp the complexity of this joke. There's also the small chance that it just sucks. Well, the science juice seems to kill them, I guess. So Paradigm has his goons go throw the bodies in some kind of sewage treatment ditch to be swept away by the water. Only they're not dead. They seem perfectly fine. That must have been some truly powerful green science juice! And instead of going to, say, the police for the kidnapping attempted murder, they go get hamburgers. You know, I get it. No, really, I get it. Sharks are cooler than turtles, so if Ninja Turtles took off, then humanoid shark things should be even better, right? Well, maybe, but your story has to make slightly more sense than a fever dream. Well, the three turn into sharks, because... green science juice! They immediately start destroying private property and are chased off by the police, only to run into the scene of an accident. Despite helping, it only seems to make the people more frightened of them, and they're forced to flee again. Bobby from earlier, again, who cares about his real name, comes across the sharks. They pile into his car, which, judging by the interior size, is a freaking TARDIS, and a chase scene ensues. However, will our heroes escape?
That gives me an idea.
I'll be right back.
Ladies and gentlemen of YouTube, I come to you today bearing grave news. What will follow this will surely be a trying time for all of the internet. But all that I ask is that you stay strong. I hoped never to have to make an announcement of this gravity during my time here, but our worst fears are confirmed. We have found something worse than tattooed teenage alien fighters from Beverly Hills. Yes. Yes, I know.
Anyway, Paradigm and his henchmen managed to showcase enough brain cells to fill an amoeba and fire at the sharks, showing marksmanship that would make a stormtrooper feel cocky about his aim. The first real fight scene of the series squares off to begin, and...
What freak show are you from?
Someone died. No, that's the only explanation for this, is that someone actually died, in the recording studio. I refuse to believe any other reason that someone would make a sound that heinous. I don't know who you are, voice of Weird Lobster Guy, but may you rest in peace. The Sharks defeat Bebop and Rocksteady by throwing a roller coaster at them, and wait a minute! He's pushing the roller coaster.
We're supposed to be scared of.
Then he's skating by the bad guys to do some one-liner.
Wouldn't count on it.
And then he's pushing the roller coaster again. People, there can only be one logical explanation for this, and that's that sharks can teleport! Save the women and children! But our hero's victory doesn't last long as they're captured by a tank unit. How will they escape? Will they find their father? What happened to Dr. Paradigm and his goons? I think the better question here is who the hell cares? The story doesn't exist. The voice acting is the absolute worst, and the animation is just putrid. I watched an episode from Season 3 to see if anything had gotten better, and while I will admit to a very slight improvement in the animation, it was still just as hard to sit through as Episode 1. I get into characters and story arcs and whatnot at this point, but there's just nothing to talk about. They're all some 90s marketing team's vision of radical! And frankly, the heroes are just unlikable in a lot of ways, tearing up property and causing more destruction than what would have happened if they just weren't there at all. The only one who changes is Dr. Paradigm, who infuses himself with piranha DNA at one point, and then becomes a cyborg at another point. Now, I hope that by this point that you people know me. I don't just complain and yell to complain and yell. I found good things to say about the Superhero Squad show. I even found one or two good things to say about tattooed teenage alien fighters from Beverly Hills. I have nothing good to say about this show. If you go into this expecting nothing, you will be disappointed. That's all I have for you this week. I'll see you next time.